a grave. In 92 days, believe me, I can't lay down comfortably.
Do they ask you about Osama bin Laden?
They did. They did. During the investigation, when they asked me if I know, they asked me the question about Richard Reid. They asked me the question about if I have met Osama bin Laden, if I went to Afghanistan, if I have any information about 9/11. When I denied, they give me the electroshocks in my knees. And after a few times, I got passed out during the investigation. They forced me to drink a tea, and that they put inside a tea some kind of drugs, and that's make me like I doesn't know what I've been answering, and when I am like a drunk, so something like that.
How many times did they give you electric shocks?
The 3 interrogations. The interrogation in Egypt was only 3 times.
And when did they take you from Egypt?
It was 12 April 2002, Friday, almost 7-8 p.m. They taped my mouth with a tape. They put goggles in my eyes. They put big headphones on my ears. So I can't see, I can't talk, I can't listen anything. It's like more bad than animals. It was only they live, my nose is open so I can breathe and live. During the flight, the same thing. My legs was touching my chest. Is that position they keep us inside a box inside a plane from the Egypt to the background. 13 April was when I arrived in Bagram Air Base. After that, after 1 month in general population, they take me to isolation in upstairs for almost 10 months. During this, they torture me mentally by the cursing word, torturing mentally by the Quran, because they're throwing a Quran over there inside number 2 box, because over there in Bagram they use as a toilet is a box, metal box, and they throw a Quran inside that box. They write a curse word inside a Quran and they give it to me and they give it to the other detainees. They torture me over there, keeping me hungry without food. They call the dogs, make me afraid from the dogs, and yelling, screaming, punching, kicking, and keep me in interrogation for 17 hours long. To just and at that time, during this time, I'm not allowed to go to the bathroom. I'm not allowed to eat anything. They got a polygraph in Bagram, and 3 times they got from me a polygraph in Guantanamo. They said, you're passing a test and we believe you, but you have to admit. One person, his name is Ron from military intelligence. He comes to see me in Bagram Air Base and he said, we did a mistake to arresting you, but we can't release you, let you go to free from here. We have to take you to Guantanamo, and from there you will be eventually you go to release and you go back to your home country.
What happened to you when you arrived in Guantanamo Bay?
So it was 23rd March 2003 when I arrived in Guantanamo Bay. They stripped me naked in front of 50 people from military intelligence, US, including male, females, and after that they covered me with a uniform of orange, and they handcuffs me, shackles me legs, and they take me to the Oscar block. I was in Oscar 4 for isolation for 30 days. Was a 6x4 metal cage. Did not take me in interrogation during these 30 days. After that, they moved me to Mike block. I was in Mike block when they took me first time into the interrogations. They said, we've been watching you since you left from Pakistan. You're not going to lie with us. We know everything about you because we've been follow up you since you left Pakistan. You have to be truthful with us. They asked me the question, was 4 people, was a black guy, was Americans, and was a Egyptian, was a Indonesian, Malaysian looking guy, and was a British guy.
How do you know that one of them was British?
He said, I'm from England, British. He said his voice accent for English also was known. British guy, he just asked me about Richard Reed, that's it. He said, if I have met Richard Reed, he was said like after you went to Indonesia, he come to visit you in Indonesia also. He said that. I don't know. He interrogated me only about Richard Reed. And if I have any friend or anyone, I know him in England, in UK. Other peoples, they ask me different questions about if I have met Osama bin Laden, if I went to Afghanistan, if I have any kind of relation with any terrorist groups, any information about 9/11, any information about planning terrorism for the future, Al-Qaeda, and that's questions. I denied. Then they was very mad. They said, okay, if you're not going to accept at least you met Osama bin Laden. They said, go ahead, accept you met Osama bin Laden, we forgive you. Just you did mistake and that's fine. I said, how I admit something I never did it? So that time was my they start punish, they start torture me in Guantanamo. The first torture I received, they put me in frequent flyer status. They kept me in frequent flyer status for 6 months. The frequent flyer status mean the detainee doesn't allowed to sleep. Every 20 minutes, every half an hour, the guards come and wake up the detainee. They handcuff him, they leg shackles him, and they move him from camp to camp, from cell to cell. Sometimes they put you in cell 1, and each block had 48 cells. The first time they put you in cell 1, and the second time they move you back in 25 cells last, so you can walk. If we try to get a nap little bit, the guards come and they kick the doors, yelling, screaming, cursing, and only the base, this detainee not allowed to sleep. During this frequent flyer status, I was suffering from my ear because the torture in Indonesian airport, I have realized in Bagram Air Base, I have a hole in my eardrum, and that's because they threw me against the wall. After I was in frequent flyer status, I was suffering from the pain and I can't sleep and was bleeding from my legs each time I go walk. And they moved me from camp to camp, cell to cells.
And during that period in Guantanamo, Saad, did you ever think you would get out, or did you give up hope?
The way they was treat me, I was never hoping I going back alive in Pakistan. They really, the doctors over there, they said in 3 months you're going to die because the infection is very close to your brain. Anytime you can have a stroke. That reason they considered me in life-threatening condition.
What about physical ill treatment in Guantanamo? Were there beatings in Guantanamo?
Yes, not the interrogators, but the guards. They several times they beat me by the kicking, and IRF team. They always send a IRF team. IRF team is 6 or 8 guards. They wear a helmet and they have a spray. They first use spray and they right away they come inside a cage and they beat and handcuff, hand shackles from back, and they beat at that time.
You made a suicide attempt in Guantanamo Bay. Tell me about that.
I have a white sheet. I hang that sheet in my top of cell and I try to attempt a suicide with that sheet. But the guard caught me and they take me to the hospital, and a few days my neck was very hurting and it just stayed like this. And after that they now stopped to torturing me. They sent me to Delta Block. Delta Block is in Camp 1. Is another block, you can call this a psychiatrist block. Also, you can call this a second interrogators torture block.
What happened when they moved you to Delta Block?
They stripped me naked, just allowed is the underwear. 6x4 cage is a refrigerator metal. They put me inside that cage for 6 months. And I was without clothes, and they turned on the air condition is very high, and they kept me over there for 6 months. Is nothing allowed beside the underwear. During this period, they take me to the interrogation, and they said, okay, what's now, you going to admit or not? I said no. And I start in here a hunger strike because I was suffering too much, and I start a hunger strike, and that time they start giving me a codeine and morphine as a painkiller.
How difficult was it for you to get access to lawyers when you were in Guantanamo Bay?
When I start hunger strike, one of my friends over there, he was a detainee. He told his lawyers he's going to die, and that reason the court allowed my lawyers to see me one time visit because my life-threatening conditions.
So that was the only visit you had?
Yes.
How do you feel about Americans and about the Americans who treated you this way in Guantanamo Bay?
If I said like I am not angry, definitely that's not the truth. In my heart, definitely I am angry, because if I did something bad and they punish me, this is okay, because I did bad and I've been getting a punishment for that. But I have not did anything bad. In my whole life, I have never cursed anyone. My friends since 20 years also, they have been with me. If you ask them, they will say I have never cursed anyone. I have never killed ants in my life. This is really painful what they did it to me, and not I can't forget what they did it to me, and is no word to explain.
And you're still suffering the after effects?
Yes.
You've said that you still have nightmares that you're in Guantanamo.
Yes, I still, since they arrested me from 9th January up to now, today, every second night I have nightmares, and mid of night I wake up screaming, yelling, and crying. Even no one can do that with the animals. I don't know manage how they can do that with a human being. The American destroyed our entire life, because when we suffering more than we was in Guantanamo Bay. When the people call you terrorist and you don't have money to get your medications and treat yourself.
Do you feel, Saad, that they have destroyed your reputation, as well as damaging you physically, but that they have taken your good name?
Yes, definitely, yes. Because I was like an ambassador of the Quran. I recite the Quran, I teach a Quran. And now people call me like he's a Guantanamo person or he's a terrorist person.
What were you doing in Indonesia when they arrested you? Why were you there?
My dad, back in 1990, he was transferred, sending by Saudi government as a honorary diplomat to Indonesia. He was a professor and the dean of Islamic Institute in Jakarta. And I have my stepmom and stepbrother from Indonesia. So my dad is died, and that's I thought I should go in Indonesia, and met with my stepmother and stepbrother and my dad's colleagues over there, and informed them my dad has been passed away.
And who did you meet in Indonesia? How did you get into trouble there?
They said I have met with the Islamic extremist group, they mentioning IDF, Islamic Defense Front. I met Islamic Defense Front people over there, but I was before I go from Pakistan to Indonesia also, I was a famous reciter of the Quran in Broadcasting Corporation in Pakistan. I have speeching with the Muslims about the Quran. So I was a well-known person in Pakistan also. I've flown over there, and in Indonesia, my dad was a well-known person over there also as an Islamic scholar. So I met people over there just because they was knowing my dad, and they was Islamic scholars. If they have any relation with any terrorist groups or extremist group, or the United States consider them as a terrorist, I doesn't know anything about that.
But you were involved with an anti-Shia organization?
Not a member. It's not like I was a member. It's just speaking a Quran.
So why do you think you were arrested?
I still shocked why they arrest me, because they have not explained me anything. Even 7 years when I got released also, they said, they not explain me. So many times I asked them, each interrogator come to interrogate me, I ask him, why you guys arrest me? They said, we don't know.
Did you ever discuss putting bombs in shoes, as the Americans have claimed in Defense Department documents they have released? Did you ever discuss that with anyone?
Americans claim a lot of things. Americans said, I went to Afghanistan. Americans said, I have met Osama bin Laden. Americans said, I was a Secretary General for anti-Shia groups in Pakistan. And this is all not truth.
So you never met Osama bin Laden?
No.
And you never had contact with the shoe bomber Richard Reed?
No. Or I always said, Richard Reed in your hands. Ask him, show him my picture. And they said, we show your picture to Richard Reed. He doesn't know you. So it's no question left. If he doesn't know me, if he knows me, take me to court. If they think they have evidence and they heard I talking about shoe bomb, take me to court.
But they never did?
No.
What are your feelings about Osama bin Laden?
I can't make comments personally about him because I don't know him.
But you know he's responsible for the 9/11 attacks. So how do you feel about that?
What happened in 9/11 is wrong. Because Islam, Muslim religion, it doesn't teach to kill innocent people. I am not happy what happened in 9/11. Killing innocent people, there's no religions allowed to do that.
And how do you feel about the Taliban?
I don't know about them. Only the news I have is what I heard from the media, and that could be wrong and that could be truth. And I have no contact with them, and I don't know anything about the Taliban.
But do you support what they're doing in Afghanistan?
No, I did not.
Do you blame the British government in part for what happened to you? Because you were taken through Diego Garcia, you believe?
Definitely, they are a part. They are a part, and if they denied, they doesn't know, they should know. They should know what happened to me. And Miliband, the former foreign minister of British government, he had accepted the one plane of rendition flight does come in Diego Garcia.
You say you've never had contact with any militant groups, with Osama bin Laden, with anybody else, but in Guantanamo Bay, they judged you to be an enemy combatant.
This is something they can explain. I can't, because I explained for you. I asked them so many times that questions. They just said the Washington DC need to keep you in here. When they decide to let you free, then all the charges will be dropped. And that's I've been seeing. 1 year they give me a 15 charges, and the second year they give me 8 charges. And before they release me, they drop by themselves all the charges.
Some people listening to you, maybe many people listening to you, will say you couldn't have been in Guantanamo Bay for all of those years unless you were guilty of something.
Like I explained, I have never done anything bad. If they think I have met terrorist people in Indonesia during the visit of 56 days in Indonesia, so I was by myself. Honestly, I doesn't know anyone them is including in terrorism or in terrorist activities.
You were freed from Guantanamo Bay in August 2008, but more than 2 years later, you feel like you're still not free here in Pakistan. What restrictions have been placed on you?
Like I explained for you, I'm suffering more than I was suffering in Guantanamo Bay, because in there I am a prison. You know, I have no choice. I'm in prison, I have no choice. But after I release by the court order from Washington DC, American court, I come back in Pakistan. The Pakistani government put me in house arrest. And schedule fourth schedules mean the person in schedule fourth, he doesn't allowed to go off the house where he living without the authorities' permission. What's the reason? If the American court get me free, allowed me to go back to Pakistan, what's a reason for the Pakistani government put me in fourth schedule and the house arrest?
Do you feel like you're still fighting for your freedom?
Sometimes I think it can be a suicide, end of my life in Pakistan, because I've been tortured since 2002. What's the difference between Guantanamo and Pakistan? Nothing. It just over there is a small cage and Pakistan is the bigger cage. That's it.